Thank you. Good morning, President Mather and members of the board. I'll start this morning's report by also expressing appreciation for Richard Gillihan and for his years of service to the members and to this board. Richard has been a source of insight and advice for me as well as for many other members in this organization. And we want to thank him for his contributions to helping make this fund stronger. As you know, next week will be my 2-year anniversary at CalPERS, and so I thought I'd take a moment to talk about some of the issues we've faced in the past couple of years and to highlight some of our most important accomplishments. I knew walking in that there would be some challenges. I did a little bit of homework, and some really did come faster than what we had expected, but we were ready. With this board's help, along with the talented team that we have throughout CalPERS, we have tackled those challenges head on, and we're in a better place today because of it. We've worked to strengthen the fund by focusing on managing risks and taking the necessary steps to get us on a solid foundation for the future. Just after I arrived, it quickly became apparent that our 7.5% discount rate needed to be lowered. Working with this board, along with labor, our employers, and our stakeholders, many stakeholders, we were able to lower the discount rate from 7.5 down to 7 over a 3-year period of time. Soon after that, the governor saw that we were very serious about addressing our 64% funded status at that time, so he included an additional $6 billion payment toward the state's liabilities in his budget. The discount rate reduction, the market returns, and the governor's payment and the legislature's support of that payment helped to make us cash flow positive. The next thing we did was work on our asset allocation mix through much of last year. We followed that up with a decision by the board earlier this year to reduce the amortization from 30 years to 20 years. In all of these cases, we were working to be as transparent as we possibly could, talking with all of our stakeholders and the legislature as well about where we were headed and why. We do know that some of these decisions have impacted our employers, and we've been striving to give them all the information and the tools that they need to make the best decisions possible. One of these tools was just signed by the governor last week, the 115 Trust that came before this board for support, and this program will be administered by CalPERS. With all of these steps that we've taken, as well as our investment returns over the last 2 years of 11.4 and 8.6, our funded status is now at 71%. And that 71% is based on a 7% discount rate. But we do still have much work ahead of us because the one question I continue to hear, and I think I've heard from many of you as you're out interacting with members, is will our benefits be here? Are they safe? And I always tell them yes, and I know you do as well, that we've been here for 86 years and will continue to be here for them when they choose to retire. We published the Solid Foundation for the Future report to help members and stakeholders understand these decisions and to show them we're on the right path. We've taken that report on the road, and we've also provided that report to you as well as a PowerPoint deck so that you can meet with other stakeholders, the members, representatives of people who are very interested in what CalPERS does. For employers, we know their concern is affordability. We hear that from them just as loudly as we hear from the members about whether their benefit is safe. So we've been working steadily to help them understand the costs of the benefits and to plan their budgets accordingly. This information is really important to them as they're looking at their single-year and 5-year budget planning. For example, earlier this year, we hosted a webinar on managing the cost of unfunded actuarial liabilities. And we kind of laugh at this a little bit, but it was one of the most highly watched webinars we've ever produced. And I think that gives you an indication of where the employer's concerns lie. We've also taken steps to do our part to run the system as efficiently as we possibly can. We've reduced our operational cost by 1.5 to 2% and will continue to do so over the next 3 years. We're also managing 70% of our investment funds in-house, which has saved about $170 million, and we just announced a new CIO who joins a very strong team in the investment office. Instead of adding new positions, we've created what we call an enterprise pooling system that redirects resources where they are needed most. So we look at vacancies as they occur, and we determine where that vacancy needs to be deployed. In addition, we're incorporating lean processes throughout the organization to streamline how we go about our work. Some of these enhancements include improved call response time in the contact center and reductions in the time it takes us to process retirement applications. Another important internal process we've developed is the enterprise performance reporting system that's managed by a cross-division team throughout CalPERS, and you'll get your quarterly update today. It does put our funded status and strategic goals squarely at the center of our focus, and we work consistently to meet the goals and objectives of the plan, and we report again to you each quarter on our progress. We have accomplished quite a bit in the last 2 years, but there's certainly more work to be done. Moving forward, we do know that there are challenges ahead. Now let's turn to some executive news. Late last month, we announced that Michael Cohen is our new Chief Financial Officer. Michael is very well respected within state government, having served our state for over 20 years, most recently as the Director of Department of Finance, managing the state's multi-billion-dollar budget. I'd also like to take a moment to thank Marlene Timberlake D'Adamo for the outstanding work that she has done in her role as interim CFO. Marlene has been wearing 2 hats, and this is the second time she had to wear this second hat, one to guide the financial team, and then the other, of course, to lead the compliance team. And she's done so with integrity and grace. And if I could have you please join me in thanking Marlene for her dedication to CalPERS. On Monday, we also announced Ben Ming as our new Chief Investment Officer. Ben is well-versed in CalPERS systems, having spent 7 years on our investment team from 2008 to 2015, first as a part of the fixed income team and then as Chief Investment Director of Asset Allocation. Most recently, he's been overseeing the State Administration of Foreign Exchange in China. Ben, again, is very well versed in asset liability management, and that is, of course, a pivotal process to achieving our goals. And we are very happy and pleased to welcome him back to CalPERS. Next, I'd like to introduce Michelle Nix. She's in the audience as well. Michelle Nix is our new controller, and Michelle joins us. I think she started mid-September, and so she's working her way through all the acclimation that needs to happen at CalPERS, but if I could have Michelle stand as well. Welcome. Thank you, Michelle. In Monday's investment committee, you heard a detailed report on proxy season efforts. In anticipation of the report that was given to the board, we shared these accomplishments with several media outlets who did follow up to conduct interviews with much of the team. As a result, the news coverage provided a picture of the efforts we've made with the companies we invest in over the last year, including our position on board diversity, board quality, and executive compensation. One point we continue to emphasize is that the bottom line of our proxy season initiatives is always to drive investment returns for long-term sustainability and understanding the risks that our investing in those companies provide or raise. I'd also like to mention, moving on to health, I'd also like to mention open enrollment this month since we're in the midst of it. Members have until October 5th to select their health plans for 2019. One of the new resources available is the mobile experience. You got to see a demo of that yesterday. And judging by the volume of completed transactions thus far, which are up compared to this time last year, these new resources are being well utilized. I do want to encourage all of our members covered by the health plans to carefully read through this year's materials so they can make the best choices for themselves as well as for their family members. Health plan statements and all open enrollment information is available in the members' My CalPERS accounts now, and remember that the new premium rates and plan changes would take effect on January 1 of 2019. Another newly developed resource I want to highlight is the digital version of our Perspective newsletter. If we can get a screenshot of that. The new online edition, it complements the paper edition that we already provide, and it allows members to access the newsletter anytime, anywhere really, using a tablet, a mobile phone, or a desktop computer. It includes all of the information from the latest print edition, but also provides members access to additional news published in our 2 previous issues this year. A beta version of Perspective was launched earlier this month, and we're inviting members to give us feedback. Based on the experiences they share, we'll make ongoing improvements to enhance our delivery of relevant news and information to the membership. The last resource to mention is the completion of the public agency valuation reports that are now also available on our website. In addition to the state and school valuations that were published last month, the actuarial team has completed nearly 4,000 of these reports overall. This represents a significant effort for the team. each year. Now that these are completed, all of our employers will have online access to their annual valuation reports to help plan their budgets for the upcoming year. I'd like to thank Scott Tarando and our actuarial office to all their hard work in completing the reports on time again this year. And I also want to remind our employers that our actuaries are happy to help you. They can help explain the reports and provide any assistance that you may need. Moving on now to visits with stakeholders and pension partners around the country for this last month. Earlier this month, I had the opportunity to address delegates of the Retired Public Employees Association during their biennial General Assembly in Southern California. There were about 200 members in attendance who were glad to hear about the work we've been doing to strengthen the fund. I'd like to also extend a congratulations to Al Darby, who has been elected as the new RPEA president. That was followed by a visit to the Council of State Governments West annual meeting. I was pleased to be invited by California Assemblyman Ken Cooley, who is from the Sacramento area. I was asked to speak on a panel about innovative, data-driven strategies to help sustain public pension funds. My fellow panelist was an individual named Greg Menace, who works for Pew Charitable Trusts. In addition to talking about the decisions we've made to strengthen the fund over the last few years, I also highlighted our risk management practices, including our asset liability management process and our enterprise performance reporting system. And then a few days later, I addressed attendees of the National Conference on Public Employee Retirement Systems, CalPERS. There were about 150 in attendance, all focused on the same thing, and that was public pension funding and the challenges facing public pension systems. I was pleased to be a part of that conference and to interact with other pension leaders, including Dana Dillon, who is at our sister system across the river, who moderated the panel. And now I'd like to switch gears quickly to focus on a number of internal efforts we're working on, ultimately to improve service to our membership. The first is our employee engagement survey, which we'll be sending out for the second time in early October. The first survey we did was in 2017, which received a 70% participation rate, and it helped to establish our baseline measures and highlight really what we needed to focus on. We'll continue to survey our team members annually to give every employee a voice in the organization and how the organization is run, and to make sure that we're collecting that data on a regular basis so that we can act appropriately. The survey, again, will be administered by an outside third party, McLean & Company. Let me also remind you about our 19th annual education forum taking place next month. So mark the date, October 22nd through the 24th in Indian Wells. We are expecting a record turnout. We have more than 900 confirmed registrations already. This is a great opportunity for us to interact with employers at all levels, help to build really important relationships, and to ensure that they return home with the solutions that they came for. And then finally, we held our annual all-team event called CalPERS Live earlier this month. Each year, we take time to highlight accomplishments in the organization and talk about our priorities going forward. The theme this year was Serving California Together, and each presentation highlighted the fact that we are one team at CalPERS, engaged in the mission and working together to serve our members. We also highlighted some of the stories of the members we serve, and I'd really like to share one of those with you today. It is the story of Marvin Hatchett, who's a school security guard at Woodrow Wilson Middle School in Pasadena. If we could roll that video.
Security officers are more important than people actually think, because we're the first responders even before the police actually get here. We actually stop a lot of things before they happen. We stop the fights, we stop the weapons, we stop the drugs, we stop everything. We do our perimeter checks. We make sure the outside of the streets is safe just as much as the inside. We do our walkthrough to each class, check on the teachers, make sure they're okay. I also go across the street to our elementary, check on their school as well. People may think we just walk in and not doing, but we're actually walking and looking and observing and seeing which kid is sitting by themselves or which kid is having a problem, because that's the kid that can come back and, be very upset at a whole bunch of people. And so we have to look out for things like that. I'm Marvin Hatchett, I work for Pasadena Unified School District, and I work at Wilson Middle School. I'm a security officer during the day, and in the afternoon I do the performing arts program at Wilson Middle School. I played drums in high school. I was in the marching band, jazz band, orchestra, so I grew up in it. Well, I realized that the security part is to keep them safe, but after you keep them safe, what do you do? And that's when God said, okay, open up a door and use your talent that you've given from in the industry to give back. And before you know it, that's how the performing arts was born.
Hey, so you guys here?
First part, it seems like controlled chaos, but everybody knows where they're going. Everybody knows what they're doing. Our stage crew, drum corps, band, dance, all the people will be here for today because we got a big performance coming up. And playing an instrument, it builds your character. It builds your whole persona of who you are. It builds up all the stuff that you're so quiet about. Even as a listener in music, you hear it and you get into it. When you're playing it, it takes you to another place that may have an opportunity to let things out that you just want to let out. This is where kids want to come. You're not forced to come. I had one kid that was a phenomenal player, and he called me back from high school. He said, I just need to come in. And I said, just come by. He took his backpack off and he slammed it on the ground and he went straight to the red drum set. So he's just going off and he's just going. I'm playing with him, but I'm just watching him, and finally you could just see it. It's like, and then afterwards he cried and he hugged me. I needed that. I didn't have nowhere to go. I thought I was gonna, go into something that was gonna be bad. And that's why our program is more to just playing, more to just drums. And you can see it in them when you see it out there. And if each one teaches one, it's true and it spreads. It's gratifying to take your gift that God has given you and give it to someone else and see the growth of it. A good day on a job is like sending a student home with a smile on their face and knowing that that student accomplished something for the day and they had a good day. That's what's important, being a life toucher.
This was one of the vignettes of a video that we had shown to our employees, just reminding everyone the reason this organization exists. We also like to end our all-employee event on a high note with our annual music video, which I would like to share with you now. It does give you a flavor of the wonderful and talented people we have working here or who choose to work here at CalPERS, so if we could roll that video as well. So I'd like to now close with investment performance year to date. The preliminary, and these numbers are as of July 31st. The preliminary one-year return is 8.3. The 3-year return is 7.1. The 5-year return is 7.7. The 10-year return is 5.9, and the 20-year return is 6.1. And President Mather, that concludes my remarks.